right? So our next speaker will be talking about money without maths. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Anil Ghelani, who is a versatile financial professional with deep expertise in Indian equities, fixed income, credit research, and asset management across mutual funds, pension funds, and AIFs. He currently leads passive investment and products at DSP Mutual Fund, focusing on delivering transparent, data-driven investment solutions. Please welcome him on the stage with a huge round of applause.
Thank you very much for this very kind introduction. And good morning, friends. Wish you all a very warm welcome to this excellent place at the National Stock Exchange. And great work done by Chintan and the rest of the volunteer teams to set up such a wonderful platform, not just in the context of a platform to network, but this platform to host a wonderful event on the NSE platform. So that's really great. And while my small brief presentation opens up, I just wanted to get started with a very interesting thing because we were speaking about Sunday and being relaxed. And so the LinkedIn post which was put up was having a very formal photograph of mine in my office thing. And I thought I'll just change it and I put this as the title slide. Great, so okay. The title given to me was very, very, very difficult. We had a very good conversation over the tea. So we have a very diverse set of people over here, some from the world of finance and investing, little bit boring, some from little more creative thinking, so some fun people. So I try to ensure I can merge the two and have some small engaging discussion. And because we are very much short in terms of ensuring the time, I put a timer for myself, which will shut at 12 minutes, and then we can have some Q&A, right? From the 20 minutes, I thought about 10 to 12 minutes I'll speak, and 8 to 10 minutes we'll keep for Q&A. Okay, friends. So very quickly, this is the most important slide for me as my disclaimer slide because we represent a very large regulated entity. So I just wanted to quickly brush through that. So I just wanted to get started with this, connecting the dots with what my key focus area to talk about was money without maths. So I do understand some of the friends over here are very proficient money managers, wealth managers, mutual fund or PMS managers. So for you, of course, it's different. But for some other people, basically very often, even if you are investing your own money, there is a natural tendency we get a little anxious. Kya ho raha hai market mein? Kaisa ho raha hai, right? So structurally, if you think of it, what should be the most ideal situation? Leave out money or anything like that, but the other part of the MMML, like the mindset, the leadership, right? In my view, there are two key things, basically. One, that we need to be very active in our daily life, in our personal life. And second, it's very difficult to do that. I'll take my example. We have a very interesting lineup of speakers later on, and we'll get a very diverse set of discussions. But if you think of being active in personal life, how many of us here have a physical fitness routine? Going to the gym, swimming, something, yoga, whatever, right? Few hands go up. For me also, it's like that. I like swimming, so I go usually on weekends and maybe one of the weekday. But recently, I have not been able to do that. I was here in NSC only. We met a couple of days back. Today, I was here. So swimming thoda miss ho gaya. So active in life, I'll say, I have been very busy, But if somebody will ask, अच्छा market में क्या हो रहा है? Trump sir ने क्या बोला? रात को Twitter पे कोई live आ रहे थे. Everybody will say, on the road also I was coming and I was checking Twitter and he said something like this, and hence because of that, on Monday, this particular stock or this sector is going to do like this, right? Anybody thinking like that? So we are exactly the opposite. We are active in our portfolio and in tracking markets, unfortunately, and very often we become passive in life, which is the most difficult thing to do. But the true sense and how we can learn how to control this anxiety is very simple. Many of us from diverse background. Anybody from aviation background? Or anybody had a passion ke, when I was very young, I thought कि मुझे तो pilot बनना, कितना मजा आता है, Yes, sir. Seriously? Wow, very nice. So, I had a very interesting conversation with one very close family person, young guy like you, he went to the US to learn flying because India में नहीं है. तो बोले कि how do you define your work profile? He said my work profile is very boring. मैं बोला क्या बात कर रहे हो? तो बोले कि सर only 10% of my time I have something to do, which is when I'm taking off and landing. Rest of the time my plane works in autopilot mode. Everybody with me? So that's what we need to do, and we can learn from aviation industry and a pilot industry. This is a photo I just picked up from Google. So unless you are Deepika Padukone or Anil Kapoor or Hrithik Roshan, you know that movie Fighter where they show in a very different format and they are running, and that's a very exciting journey because each second when you are in the plane, it's very engaging. So like that, similarly, if you are a money manager like him or some of the other speakers or like me, then yes, it's your day job, you better do it. But if not, try to be like this girl, whoever she is, this aviation pilot. I picked it up last night from the Google, and so I kept the source also. And try to keep your life active and your investment as much as possible passive. Very difficult. I assure you, even after this discussion, when we are heading back and we are leaving BKC, today is Sunday, so everybody will say, BKC से बाहर निकलते 10 मिनट में मैं highway पे पहुंच गई. On same Friday evening also, everybody was laughing when I said, how much time will it take for us to reach the highway? But in that 10 minutes also, most of us will be tracking the latest news or tracking what Trump said last night and how it's going to impact the portfolio, which is not needed in some way. So if you are able to come to a good formula which can help you with this, then in whatever you are doing, whether you are aiming to become a pilot or some young friends I met earlier, if you are aiming to build up a career in the world of investments, it will be very powerful for you. Mind you, I'm saying that if you are in the money management business, then most certainly do it as a regular feature. That's your job. But if not, try to be like the pilot and keep it simple. So in that sense, and I'll connect it with some of the other speakers, and we spoke with Namrata madam about her book, and like how in a very nice way, I connected it with this particular thing, that we should not look at our financial goals and be carried away in that. That is for some other part of the ecosystem. But we should focus on our life goals. Identify 3, 4, 5, 2, 1, 10, howsoever you might want to define, your life goals. Then sit with your trusted financial advisor or yourself if you are proficient enough and align your financial goals with that. Most of the times, I just captured 4 key goals. Other than that, everything will fit around that. Either you are focusing on a good life for yourself or your family, or some enhancing your lifestyle or planning for your future comfort of retirement. Other than that, at that point of time, nothing is important. If you are keen to buy a new vehicle and you want to save 50 lakh rupees for that, then which fund manager did what, or which company's earnings came up or down beyond a certain level will not impact you. So it's at some point of time very important how you should think that your investment is not your life goal. So try to dealing the two and have a good way of enhancing your outcomes. Now, you'll say कि यार सर ये सब डिस्कशन के लिए तो बाकी सेशन आने वाले हैं ना, आप तो फाइनेंस वाले हो तो आप क्या हमको डायरेक्शन में लेके जा रहे हो. But it is very important to have your mind clear such that you can focus even on the most closely tracked financial data as well. So now, if you look at just this as an example, how many of us here have traveled to Argentina or followed football of Argentina, right? Anybody gone to Washington, D.C.? US में कभी ना कभी गए रहेंगे तो देखा रहेगा, right? Now, if you see this obelisk, the ancient Greek obelisk, it's very similar whether you go to Buenos Aires or you go to Washington, D.C., right? So we'll say कि हाँ यार बहुत beautiful चीज़ है सर, आपने अच्छा लगा कुछ देख के, reminded me of my travel journey. But if you think of it this way, and now I'm connecting the dots with what's happening today in financial markets and how we should look at our money and our investing. So if you look at today's situation and where to put my hard-earned money, it's very important to try to connect the dots between these two because we are in the midst of a lot of event risks. To be successful in investing, you need to focus on three things in my view. One is the earnings profile or the stream of income that you're going to get, right? That's the corporate earnings or the cash flows from what you invest. One is the flows or the money that is chasing that investment. And the third is the event risk. Now, in this, what are we thinking? As anybody from economics background, not as a tourist, okay? We are in a tourist environment, okay, talking about Argentina or the US. But if you look at it as an economist, very important to highlight two key things, how we are focused on what we call as Washington consensus. Classic economics, basically. The way in which Washington consensus used to think was about very open borders, globalization, global trade, whichever country has surplus, come and trade with the other country, right? And the exact opposite used to be what we call as Buenos Aires consensus, or however you pronounce it, I don't know, Buenos Aires or Buenos Aires. And that was focused on internalization, setting up boundaries, setting up export or import regulations, deglobalization. So structurally, just think of it, friends. From decades, the general prudence and the way in which economic principles were also defined was based on which country was thinking like that. Washington means US domiciled thinkers were focused on deregulation, open access, no public protectionism. But are we in a situation where since Feb of 2025, where we are seeing an exact opposite of that playing out? And US is the one who is maybe driving some of these changes, talking about regulation, talking about imposing tariffs, talking about driving down global trades, free trade, the way in which we see it today. So it's important to put our minds around this, that if this is a situation which is reality, then definitely it could cause very significant impact in the way in which we look at money, the way in which we look at asset allocation today. So definitely most important aspects of navigating our investments, we need to track, we need to focus on very clearly, but at some point of time, we need to delink that if it's not part of your core focus area, And in the end, just to sum it up, I just wanted to show this photograph, Anybody recognizes who this is? Anybody here who's based out of Assam or North? It was a trick question. I know you very well. Lisa Madam is one of our speakers later on, and she's a wonderful author of this book, Money and Her. So this is the national animal of North India, basically, right? Rhinoceros bolte hai, koi log apan usko jo bhi kuch word se bole, right? It's a grey colored rhinoceros. And there's a very nice book on this. Everybody is familiar with the book Black Swan, right? Nicholas Taleb sir ka ek book tha around 2008-9 GFC. It got famous. Many of the young friends here, you might be reading about it in college. After that, this concept became more famous, called The Grey Rhino, written by an author, Michel Wucker. If you've not read both of these books, I urge you, especially young friends, to note it down and try and get a copy of that and read it. Of course, other than Money and Her and Namrata's book, sorry, I'm forgetting the name. These two books are also very, very interesting. You should try and get a hand of it. So The Grey Rhino teaches us a very interesting concept that Black Swan, everybody understands, right? It's a very unusual event. We didn't expect it to happen, right? Now, whether you are in finance or investing or wellness or HR, Swan is usually white in color. Suddenly, ek din aap chal rahe ho, every day you go feed the swans, enjoy a walk on Sunday morning. One fine day, you see a black swan. Life changes, boss, something different happened. It is unusual. But rhino is always gray in color. Whether in Assam or in Africa, always gray in color, right? So it's always gray, you know it. But there are certain human biases which lead us to, that's my alarm going off, which lead us to ignore those issues. But we need to be clear that where we are headed to in terms of our current markets, in terms of these three things which I spoke about, I call it in a coined manner called coffee framework of investing. CO stands for the corporate earnings, F for flows, and E for event risks. So if we combine these contexts at where we are headed towards, and if you remember this angle in mind, that we should think of grey rhinos, these are very important decisions, whether it's in personal life, whether it's in your investment portfolio, whether it's in policy making, whether it's in making decisions around planning an event like this, that where will my mic go, where will my speaker come, how will it happen. We are always faced with many such biases which creep into our mind, but we need to be aware and alert that these are like a large rhinoceros charging towards us, and we need to protect ourselves and our portfolios from that to be able to come to a clear consensus and a clear approach of how to manage our portfolios. So with that, friends, 7 minutes left now for any questions, comments, suggestions, inputs, anything about why I'm wearing pink jacket or why rhinoceros is gray or why I chose to use fighter planes instead of something else. Anything, questions, suggestions, comments, open for that. Thank you. Yes. People in the back rows are always fun, huh? Basically, मस्त आराम से बैठने का. तो आपके लिए किसी को question है तो बोलिए. Yes, sir. बोले ना. Okay, there's a mic which will come to you. But yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was going to ask, you talked about human biases, right?
Yes.
So, does cognitive bias and other biases which sort of entail human biases also come part in it? Because when we talk about financial investments, right, that plays a very pivotal role, which is why we see how the investments and the market shape in today's day and age.
So, like I said, do try and pick up a copy of this book. When I speak of human biases, it's not just financial bias or markets related. This is a very common general bias. So I'll take one example. Like I was saying, it works in many ways, including the way in which we came to this event here today. Suppose, for example, today was a Sunday, right? So usually you would expect, okay, I'll reach BKC in half an hour, for example, you know. But maybe you've not budgeted that, though it is Sunday, so all the offices are shut. But if there is some big fair happening at that MMRDA, then there could be a huge bottleneck for the traffic. For example, I'm just saying, you know. So even if you remember reading something about it on some banner on the highway since the last week, very often in your mind, you'd still feel कि नहीं यार Sunday मैं पहुंच जाऊंगी या पहुंच जाऊंगा. अरे सर बट वो MMRDA वाले इवेंट में बोले कोई मिस्टर शाह आने वाले या मिस्टर मोदी आने वाले तो बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रैफिक भी होगा नहीं लेकिन Sunday में पहुंच जाऊंगा. Then when you get stuck in the traffic and you're waiting, then you remember that was a grey colored rhinoceros coming towards me, not a black swan. It's not an unknown thing. It was known that this event is going to be conducted. It's not suddenly, by the way, Mr. Shah thought कि एयरपोर्ट से जाते जाते मैं MMRD में लैंड हो रहा हूँ. सर को हंसी आ रही है क्योंकि एरोप्लेन के बारे में इनको ज़्यादा जानकारी ऐसा कोई लैंड नहीं हो सकता है. But I'm just saying, so these are very important biases, not just in capital markets or in investing, but in anything. So if we are able to recognize that, yes, there could be such instances where my mind will try to focus only on the things I like to see. सैटरडे घूमने गया था फ्रेंड्स के साथ, सर थोड़ा लेट उठूंगा संडे को, चाय पी के निकलूंगा ना, पहुंच जाऊंगा, क्यों टेंशन ले रहे हो मेरे को, अरे मिस्टर शाह आने वाले. बट यू विल इग्नोर दैट टिल द टाइम इट गेट्स टू लेट. द राइनोसरस इज नॉट कमिंग टू हिट यू, ही इज कमिंग टू गो टू ईट द ग्रास ओवर देयर. MMRDA event is going to happen. They don't want to come and cause a disturbance in the NSC event. But it happens sometime like that. Got it, sir? Yes, sir. Bolo, last question, then we have to exit the stage. Boliye. Okay, let me do one thing, but I'll get a mic to you also, but let's connect back in the tea break because time is up and we have a very excellent lineup of lots of speakers. Chintan has got together a wonderful set of people. But thank you very much for raising your hand and asking the question, but we'll come to that. My bell has already gone, so I need to raise. I know a few more hands have gone up, but very keen to, I'm sorry, madam, but she's giving me bad looks. But we'll 3 more people. But I'm here. Oh, 5 minutes to go. Okay. Please, come on. एक mic उधर दो जल्दी. एक और mic लेके उधर दो.
Sir.
वो कॉलर mic दे दो मैडम को जल्दी सब तक. Bye. Yes, बोलिए dear.
What's your take on new age companies?
Well, new age companies are very important part of our ecosystem. If you look at the economy, the way in which we are seeing today, at all points of time, some new age companies will be the big driver for the future. So very often, friends, when we talk about new age companies, AI, ML, we feel कि यार मैं इतनी खराब टाइम में मेरे काम में लगा हूँ because this AI is going to disrupt the way in which I live my life and my world. Right? Everybody feels like that. But this is not a bug in the system. It is a system itself. At any point of time, from time immemorial, 5,000 years back also if you go, there will be some very dramatic new changes which are coming, like what you mentioned, and there will be some entrepreneurs, some companies which will build upon that, and they will be what you define as whether new age companies, new platforms, AI, fintech, etc. And like I said, they will be very, very important parts of our economy and our infrastructure, how we see it today. So if you look at our GDP or any country's GDP, what is the formula of GDP? Young friends, C plus I plus G plus X minus M. The marketing people and the left brain and right brain thinker, ये क्या बोल के गया sir? C plus I plus is a consumption, investment, the government spending, the G part, and the X minus M is the net of exports minus import in simple way. You know how a country's GDP is measured. So as more such newer companies come and contribute to that GDP, whether in the form of the investments which go inside on that platform or the corporate spending, or in terms of how it can help consumption growing, that's going to be very, very powerful in my view as a part of our ecosystem. As in when they come to the capital markets or they list themselves on the National Stock Exchange or whichever exchange and they raise money and each one of us here can be a co-owner, that gradually time will tell. And we spoke in the earlier session also how at that point of time their pricing and their profit pools will become very critical. But structurally, very important part of the evolution of our GDP.
So,
Yes.
sir, as you said, in this rapid-paced digital worlds where the notification and updates of the like Trump's Twitter comments and all of this. So, sir, how do you yourself keep detached from this short-term fluctuations and focus on the long-term picture?
Very good point. So I try to follow the practices from these kind of learnings of the grey rhino. But otherwise, to be very honest, for the investment professional, as well as for the person who is investing her or his hard-earned money, it becomes very, very difficult to actually put it into practice. Hence, I said, even though I'm speaking of this same thing right now, after 2 hours, when all of us are on the way and exiting the BKC traffic, we will land up seeing that. So I think the best way to overcome that is to try and focus on that one slide which I showed you, that net, what are we investing for? Are we investing for achieving some of our life goal? If yes, then ignore the rest of the noise. If you are investing for the purpose of learning what are the drivers of risk and return of that capital asset or the drivers of risk and return of securities like equity or of the gold and silver, then yes, you better think that when Mr. Trump's, or sorry, don't want to take any names, but when some global leader sneezes, then what will be the impact on the price of silver? Or when some central bank leader announces rate cut, what will be the impact on commodity and currency? If not, suppose you are a dentist by profession. मेरे पास एक photo वो भी था, but मैंने डाला नहीं. What is your focus? You just want to focus on building your next new big clinic. You don't care कि वो global leader के दांत में पेन है कि नहीं. आपको तो ये देखना है कि मेरे clinic के लिए मुझे 50 lakhs, 1 crore, X amount I'm building up, how I'm going to achieve that. So if you are able to train your mind with that and focus only on the areas which are relevant to you and focus on the things that matter for your life. Enjoy, go out after this event on the Sunday, take a walk on the BKC, which otherwise you can't, and have a cup of coffee and relax and unwind, rather than focusing on what that global leader is thinking. You know? So it's a gradual thing, very difficult to put it into place, but yeah, that's how I would like to do it. Yes, madam.
You speak a lot about event risk. And
Yeah.
given the current geopolitical situation that we are facing, I'd like to know your thoughts about gold as a hedging
Sure.
instrument.
Great point. And this will be the last question because now the 5 minutes is up, so I need to get off the stage. But very important aspect that gold as an asset class, structurally precious metals as an asset class, if I put it a little bit loosely connected with gold and silver both, are very important as a diversification or as a portfolio hedge. So what happens some point of time that typically, like I said, if you think of it from the lens of this coffee framework I mentioned, the CO, the F and the E, in gold and silver, we don't get any corporate earnings or any steady stream of cash flows. But there is a lot of other element that it's a store of value. Hence the F and E part means how much money is chasing towards buying that gold and what are event risks that could impact that flow. That becomes very important. So whenever we are in the midst of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of global uncertainty, a lot of geopolitical tensions like what we are in today, during those periods, because the cash flow uncertainty element is not there in gold, because there is no cash flow, hence it becomes an important asset class which many large investors, including individuals like you and me, including large central banks, are wanting to own it as a part of their asset allocation. Because the drivers of risk and return for that are very different from the drivers of risk and return of the equity or fixed income. So it acts as a good diversification and hence a good portfolio hedge for the overall portfolio. But we'll connect more in detail, and maybe using some tea and coffee and snacks as an example. I'll try to explain more simple word of how the gold is useful. But thank you very much. Yes, Chintan, bolio, thank you. So yeah, that's a good reminder. So more so, that's how we also connected. I don't remember how we connected, because Chintan also is one of the very proficient networkers, and we see each other almost once in a month, if not more frequently, in some of the other events. But so I do host a very small event on LinkedIn on the first Sunday of every month. It's called Aage Ki Baat. Anybody is free to join across diverse set of topics, nothing relating to finance, but of course a little bit more focused on finance and investing and careers and gold and silver, etc. Free to join on LinkedIn platform on the first Sunday of every month at 11 to 12. And I don't force anybody to wake up and come and all. You can be in your comfortable home clothes, just press the LinkedIn button. And the power of LinkedIn is so strong that you can watch it as a replay anytime. So even if you're busy on Sunday, or you have come for this event, MMML 5, which is going to be again on some Sunday, then of course you can watch it later on the Monday or the next Sunday or whatever it might be. So how Chintan has made this very nice thing of printing everybody's business card, right? Everybody got it which has a small QR code. Now that QR code won't open to your Instagram handle. Instagram is very fun, with all due respect for all the young friends, especially who are using Instagram. I also use it, but more powerful platform is, in my opinion, personally, LinkedIn. So try to make as much use of it as possible, and look forward to seeing you later on in the break. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so